Mabel Lavinia Hamblin. 45. 45. Listen, don't get that. Yeah, but I'm 85. I'll be 86 this coming October. But I'm 80. I'm 85 now. Born October the 7th, 1914, on Hog Island. That's where I lived. I was born and raised there. It was an island, nine miles long, and two girls walked it one morning. Started out in the morning and walked all day. And when they got back, they said, "Here, he's too damn fools," and nobody else ever tried it. But on the north end, it was a Coast Guard. On the south end, it was a radio station. And finally, they had to close that at the north and at the south both. Then they had a Coast Guard up on the island. And it was on the island. You can have to fix it the way I'm telling you, different, I guess. But on the island, it was this island of people, and all on the back part used to be uh, tall hills and trees, and it would take a long time to get up them hills to get over to the beach. Our parents would go with us, and there was a beautiful beach out there for anybody who wanted to go and bathing. And a group of us girls would go out every afternoon and go and bathing. Then um, in the afternoons, we'd come back, and one or the other of us girls would have a fudge party and invite the teenage girls and their boyfriends, and make taffy for pastime. That was on a Saturday night. They'd have fudge parties uh, and pull taffy, and and we sit and talk and did first one thing, then the other, and by 9:30 we had to be home, and that was on Friday, Saturday night. Then there was a place called the Red Onion. We had a wonderful church and school. The school was just one big building with a partition in it of half the grades on one side and half on the other. And to that school, uh, we had a big play called. It was called. I'll never think of that now. It was called Mr. and Mrs. McKay. It was a play that we all got together. I was Mrs. McKay, and one of the men that lived there preached in the pulpit. Mr. Ray Phillips was my husband, and in this one of these schoolrooms, they fixed a place where we could have them play, and everybody had a big time. Made some money for to help the money they made, put it to the on the schools of the church, and it was a fence all around the church, and where people were buried in there from years and years back that we didn't even know, or I didn't. My parents did, and It was right many old people lived there and died there. And my grandfather was a lighthouse keeper, and I used to stay with my grandmother nights and go from her house of a morning to school. When I leave school, if it was real bitter cold and snow on the ground, I'd go to my grandmother's. But if it wasn't, I'd go home at 12 o'clock for dinner to my mother's. And and then we go back to school. Everybody got up at 12 o'clock, and everybody went home because they were all the houses were so close together. And everybody seemed the men made a living by working out on the water, clamming and oystering and scalloping. I used to, when I was 15, I shucked scallops. I shouldn't have done. It was in my uncle's shucking house, and they women and mostly every family had a real big garden and planted all kinds of vegetables. And the ageable women, canned and preserved and did all that in the summer and had that for the winter. And then they kept them busy, but everybody had something to eat. But then the time came, the Depression, they call it. I can remember that. And the men that worked on the water, they couldn't get clear of their clams, they couldn't get clear of their oysters, they couldn't get clear of nothing. But everybody had something to eat. And they give a little ticket out. I don't guess you all remember that, but they give everybody a card. You could go to the store and you get a bag of flour, and you got a pound of lard. Let's see, it was a flour, lard, and I think the sugar. And it was on that card. That's what that one. Every family got it. And so after a while, it was a lot of people raised their own pigs, had their meat. Not everybody, but a lot of them did, and raised chickens, plenty of chickens and things like that. And they had these gardens, and there was a lighthouse, the three houses, and of course I stayed with an old lady when her husband went up to the upstairs. He had asthma right bad, and he'd pack his little bag for to carry with him after he ate his supper, and he'd forget it every time. And he'd call down to his wife to send his little bag up there to him. Well, I'd grab that. I was 15 then. I could grab that little bag and get up the way up high. I mean, it was a lot of, I forgot how many steps it was that you had to go. But after I get up there and give it to him, he would take it and go put it up his nose or do something there. But I stayed for him to do it. And then I would get out the outside, and the island looked like a little funnel. And there was every house on the island right in there. And after I did that, I seen he was all right. I tiptoed on down and went on playing with the children that lived in the next house, the Quillings. And then, of course, come night, I had to go to bed. And then I'd leave and go home to my own home, to my own mother's and father's. And we lived in a house down in a cottage down in the woods. Well, they called it woods because it was so many pine trees and things around. But he was uh, he tended to the place for people, and I think they were in Philly or New York, one or the other. Would come down every once in a while, and they come down on they called it a picnic. Come down with big baskets of fruit and stuff, and going bathing and dancing. They had a great big place, twice as big as this, into the uh, cottage. And they danced and played music and done all that. Of course, I went at 15, and I wasn't that old then. I was like 7 or 8, 9 years old. But I can remember them giving me all kinds of candy and stuff like that. And of course, they didn't stay. They'd stay over a week, about a week. And then they went on back to New York. And so it was another man named George Dada and his wife. They were in charge of the place that they owned. And so finally, I guess they died as I grew older and got married. When I was 17, I met my husband. He came over to pick his sister up that was a visiting her, some of her relatives. And I met him, and we went together, I said, about a year. And then I was 17, and I came over on the mainland. I've been living there ever since. And we got married. And then there was three stores, one at the north and one to the south, and one in the middle, which that made it you either went to one or the other of them to get whatever you wanted. And finally, one of the stores, it was a post office. There in the store, where the store was, had a post office. And then that closed, and then it went up to another store. Mr. Harry Bowen ran this store, but his daughter ran the post office. And then finally, they had a Coast Guard built right down on the island, right down to the end tip of the island. I don't know, that stayed there right long time. And then a lot of the young girls used to take a big boat and go on it, sail on it, clear down to the island down below the Hog Island. That was called, it was near Oyster, but I forgot what. Cobb's Island. They had big dances there. My sister, that just blew too. My sister, she used to get on that. She was going with one of the Coast Guard boys down there, and she used to get on that. And a lot of them, none of the older girls, would go down to that Cobb's Island. And do you remember? You don't remember none of that though, I know. They had that was just like a big it was a motel, wasn't it? It was a big motel there. And my husband up there, no, there's my husband back there. He used to go with his he had a half sister work to that place, that hotel. And but I don't know what year that was. It was a long. See, I wasn't too old though then. That was before I was 15. I mean, I was about 15, because that was just before I met my husband. I met him when I was 16, married 17, and but that was before then, quite a while before then. And but to the island now, from what I can understand, it's just one building there, one bungalow. My son tends to it or looks after it while when he carries his seafood up the road, Ocean City. That's a man at Ocean City. I think he lives at Ocean City. Comes down now and then, and Larry takes his family down there for a week in the summertime, and and at the north end, it's a man and his wife have a big tent, and they stay there in the summer, and it's one down south has a big tent, and they got two children though, I think, man, his wife, and two children. South end, and I don't that one up north has but one child, and they're up there, and that's in the summertime. I don't know what they do in the winter, and I guess they leave because it's some certain time you go down there, the mosquitoes and gnats will eat you up. But anyway, they used to have sheep, a big pen of sheep. Used to shear the sheep, you know. Ralph Bowen had that. He's dead now. They're all dead, all of them. And out of all my family, I have one sister in a home down here, and myself in my family. And of course, I have my sons. I have my two sons and daughter. And maybe you know Faith Sturgis. She teaches school down here, the middle school. Yeah, she's been teaching about 11 years now. And she, I couldn't ask for nobody to be any nicer than my three children have been to me. They've been a blessing. The Lord's taking care of me. He's really taking care of me. But I've tried to treat people like I want them to treat me. And you might run in a snag once in a while, but you have to use your. And but they've all that I've had here have been very good. And maybe one or two of them might sort of boss you a little bit, you know. My son says I'm bossy too. But anyway, they have all taken care of me. But my husband left me well off. But you know, when you have to pay so much taxes on this and insurances and all that, you got to have a pretty good pile for 20 years. He's been dead to around 20 years. And
let me ask you this.
That's his grandson.
Let me ask you this. Growing up on the island as a child.
Yeah.
What do you remember about your house and about your mother and your father? And who were your mother and father?
Oh, yeah. Well, I lived like I told you, I lived in a big cottage down in the woods. My father was what they call him, a keeper. And he kept everything trimmed around the house and tended to the house, looked after it, so the bad boys wouldn't be tearing up things, you know, like they left because it was an awful big round porch onto it. And as I was, like I say, I had an aunt lived not too far from where I live, my mother's sister, and her husband was in the radio station down to the south end. And I used to, my older sister and brother were much older than me, but I was determined, my mother said, wherever they went, I had to go too. And so wherever they went, I thought I was big as they were. And I had to do what they done. And it was a big tree laying across the ditch. Well, they hopped up there and went on across. They thought they'd cut me off, and I'd go back home. They kept telling me, go back home. But I wouldn't go back home. I got up there on that tree, and I barely could get up on the tree. It was a great big old tree. It fell across a big ditch. And I got up on the tree, and when I got to the end of it, I fell. I've got the scar on my knee today. You can see it right there. I cut that right across there. Well, here they come back a running. Here they come back a running with me in their arms, scaring my mother to death. She says, "Now, honey, I told you that you could not go with them because you can't do what they do. You're little. You'll get hurt." She said, they better not put their hand on me. I'll hit them back if they do. I said, I'll get a stick and I'll hit them back if they do. She said, no, you're not going to fight. Well, she brought me in, and she bathed my knee real well and wrapped it, put something onto it and all. Well, I had to stay in a rocking chair for I don't know how long, and they were going here and there. My aunt, she had 2 boys, and they played games, and one was my sister and one was my brother. My brother was next to me, and the oldest was my sister. Well, they get down there and playing games, and I thought I could do it too. Well, anyway, they went. Coming home one night, it was a lot of animals loose, cows and bulls and little calves and all, and ponies, and they always stayed up in the north. But they came down to a big water hole where that they would get their water, and then they go back. And so they had they were going down to my aunt's, and of course I had to go too. And Mama, she took me in her lap. I was a baby then, and she took me in her lap. She says, "Don't," said, "you don't want to go with them. They're too big for you. You don't want to go with them." Yes, I do. I'm going with them. I was determined to do what I wanted to do. I guess that's why I've always been determined to do what I wanted to do. But I can't, since I've been hurt, I can't do nothing. And that's really put me down. Everybody comes in and says, you don't look like it's a thing matter with you. And I said, you don't know what this old mind's been going through since I've been like this. You'll never know unless you can't have but one arm and one leg. To school when I was 7, and when the school let out, I just played out in the where I live. One of our next door neighbors had a daughter, and she'd come over, and we'd go out in the woods nearby the house, but out in the woods. It was a lot of trees and weeds, bushes, and make a playhouse and play in that playhouse until I got until I was like 13 or 14. And then when I was 15, I went to shocking house and opened scallops.
Do you remember Stud Bell?
Yeah.
Was he any relation to you?
Yes, yes.
Could you tell us about him?
Well, I don't know too much about him because I'll tell you, Stud Bell was my father's brother's son. My grandfather Bell's brother, his brother, my grandfather's brother's son. Stud Bell was his brother's son. And he didn't never come over to the island until late years. And he always took the banjo, always played music. And that's as much as I really learned of him. of, well, that who he was and all.
Did you ever hear him play?
Oh yes. Oh, he played for the boys all the time in a little store that was right there. Yeah, I've heard him play a lot of times.
Good.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Did you ever go to the Red Onion?
That's where we all on a Saturday night. They in the back room. They sold the people on the island, the ladies, made homemade ice cream, made cakes, pies, candies of all kinds, and rolls and different things in the back in a big room that was right fast to it. I mean, here's where they danced, and you go right in that room, and that's where it all was if you want to get it. Yeah, that was on. That was just on a Friday or a Saturday night.
Any of the other islanders play there at the same time as Sudville?
Oh yeah. Um. Oh well. Now let me think now. Uh, Mr. Ed Dowdy. Mr. Ed Dowdy used to play. I was trying to think the main one. Seemed like it was Ed Dowdy or Charlie Dowdy. I believe it was Ed Dowdy. Mr. Ed Dowdy used to play music for him to dance by. 'Cause I dance. I used to dance.
What kind of instruments did they play?
Uh, well, to tell you the truth, I wasn't too old. I wasn't but about 15. But it was music that the dancing that they done then was foxtrot. And it was two ladies could do the waltz. And we all sit back and watch them do the waltz. So this music they played, it was beautiful music, but I couldn't tell you what kind it was.
You don't know what kind of, like you knew Sudville played the banjo.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
somebody play maybe the harmonica? Somebody play the fiddle?
Fiddle. I believe it was a fiddle. That's what it was. They played fiddle.
And three or four of them would get together and play at the same time?
No, Bill. What's his name? Uh, the one played the a banjo.
Sudville?
Sud didn't never play. They never danced by Sud Bell. I never known Sud Bell to ever play. Now he might after I left, after I got married and left, but because he was still on the island, and he played for. See, everybody when I left, everybody was moving off. I moved my home and all over here, but I sold it, huh? I left. My son, Larry, is 60 years old this coming August, and he was born about 2 months after I was over here, so that's been that long. I haven't been living down here but so long.
Do you wish that you could go back to the island if it was like it was?
Oh, would I? Years ago, I'd have loved to have gone. Yes, that I would. It was a beautiful place one time, but it can't ever be like it was.
When you say it was beautiful, a beautiful place, describe to me what a beautiful place was.
It it was beautiful hills, beautiful trees are growing. In one spot up there, they said the Indians had it and did it. Was a two big bushes growing there and a pear tree. Plenty of blackberries growed. Yeah, that's one thing I used to do. Everybody went and got blackberries, and they made jelly. Our mothers made jelly, and they were good made with dumplings. And and I don't know what else. You can ask me some questions. Maybe I can.
Times were just good, huh?
Yeah,
You were
yeah.
happy.
Oh yeah, everybody seemed to be happy.
No, not much fussing and fighting.
Not no much fussing, fighting. Maybe if some drunk might pick a fight or something, but not too much of it. Now, and the ones that were there before my day, I never heard nothing about them. No fights and fusses. There was one fight that I only remember, and that was, I wouldn't even say nothing about that because that's in the family a little bit. Not in my family, but it was bad what happened, you know. But anyway, after that, everybody got along, seemed to be along good. All I can remember school, when I went to school, uh, from the first grade, second and third on one side, and then I went to the fourth, fifth, and sixth on the other side. I done real good. I got A's and B's when I was going to school. And the children played outside, the girls played together, and the boys played together. They Everybody got along good. Weren't too much fighting and quarreling, but there were a few. But that was because of drunkenness. The, the games we played, well, we played Ring Around Roses 2 or 3 times. We were just that age, you know, that we thought that was great. But I had to be the ringleader. Then we would, I said one time, I said, us play Snap the Whip. And you knew that. I thought that was so much fun in playing Snap the Whip. And they said, well, how you do that? I said, all of us take hold our hands. And I said, us go around and around and around, play Ring Around the Roses. And the front one breaks their hand loose or out. And one of the girls says, well, I can do that. So we all held hands and went and played Ring Around the Roses. And one of the little girls fell, and she hurt her leg some way skinny. So we didn't play that game no more. The teacher had to, well, it didn't hurt it. It just skinned it a little bit when she fell. And then we did play Ring Around Roses a lot of times too after that, but nobody never got hurt. And we played, what else did we do? Well, I don't know. We didn't do too much because it was just a clear ground. It wasn't it was a home right here and a home right there and a home back a little ways. And then there was the church and then the school. And so the children had to, not throw papers out, couldn't throw no papers out, kept these grounds pretty clean, and everybody got along good. Good. I never heard talk of none at school fighting though.
Did you have any pets growing up on the island?
Oh, there was plenty of dogs and cats. I had 15 cats when I lived down here.
Did this house come from the island?
Mm. No, this was a restaurant once. I had a restaurant here, and then at that time it was 3 stores here. It was a Ballard store, Will Johnson's store, and Albert Daddy's store. Albert Daddy's family was from the island, and we had a restaurant here, and it was doing real good. But something poisoned the oysters down there, and the crabs, the boats from the bay side came over and scooped all the crabs up, or most of them, and the boys over here, why, that's what they did. But as I say, that poisoned the oysters, and that was the main thing with the oysters, and they all got poisoned. I haven't eaten oysters since I heard they were poisoned, but they think that they all left too. My Lord, my husband had a great big bed of them, and so did my son. Beautiful. They were getting so pretty. And I uh I worked down here, and that house right there was my well, not when we kept the store here. I wasn't in here. I did come my later years, but I had two children, two boys. Going. Winfred was 14, and Larry was a little boy, not too old. And then I had the little girl, and I never did. I just came down here occasionally, but he had a lady here that worked in here. Oh, yeah. No, he phoned. Yeah, they had a phone up there. Ever the boss was in the middle, and these were the substitutes. If anything happened to the boss, then one or the other of them had to go. Yeah, yeah. He would call down to his wife to tell Miss Mabel, call me Miss Mabel, tell Miss Mabel to bring me my little bag I've left there on the table. I forgot to pick it up. He carried what did he have? He had something in his hand. His flashlight, I believe it was. He carried up in his hand. And and so of course I was out there playing, having a big time with the children that lived, the captain's children. They the captain of the lighthouse, the boss rather, he had four children, three boys and a little girl. And we were all out there playing. And of course, Mrs. Etheridge called me and asked me would I slip up there and carry it to him. And of course, it didn't take me no time to slip up them. But that when I stop and think about it, sometime, my dear, how tall that was going up there. I didn't know how many steps it was, but that I can't remember now. That's been a long time. I know.
247 steps.
Yeah. Now I did that about 3 times every week because he'd forget that, and his wife was afraid that he'd have a spell while he was up there, and medicine that he'd taken. He breathed it. He breathed that, and then that let him breathe. He had asthma, and and going up steps with the asthma. That's right, and that's what he gets when he get up there. And she said, and she fussed with him when he come down the next morning. And I said, well, why not put his bag right there on his plate nearly when he gets up with his supper? He gets ready to go. See, they have certain hours to go. And she said, I can put it in his mouth and he'd forget it. She did. She put it right on the end of the table. So he'd see it.
Were you?
I think he wanted me to come up there for company. Because I'd go up there and talk with him while, and then I'd get outside there and my mouth would be flying. It was so much exciting to look to see all those houses, and they look like little teeny tiny names. Why didn't I have what? He only had one daughter, and she was in New York and married and had a daughter. And but before he never had no children but that one daughter, and she was grown, married, and had this one daughter. And finally, her husband and her and the little girl moved, did move back down because her husband was waiting for a discharge for to get to another place. And so the little girl then was about 5. She was either 5 or 6. She wasn't very big, cute little girl. And that's all they ever had. And so finally, he got his call, and they left. And of course, I was married then when after he left and all. And so she got ready and moved with her. And mother, Miss Etheridge, moved with her. And yeah, Etheridge. It was Etheridge. Virgie, her name was Virgie Swartz. And but you know what? I asked my daddy that one time. I said, "Why is this island called Hog Island?" Yeah, yeah. I tell you what he told me, and I guess it was so because I asked somebody else about it. It was a ship coming from England somewhere, and it sank. And now they told this. Now whether it's truth or not, I don't know, but they told it anyway. He said that the hogs swam ashore, and then that's when the Indians took over. Indians were on that island before the American people were. Yeah, that's it. You asked me that. Now that's what my daddy said. He said that it was a big ship, came over loaded with hogs, and that some of them hogs swam ashore. And in that place, like I was telling you, a place where it was a fig bush, a fig tree, and a pie tree, and the shells, and you know, like the Indians fought with those spears and things. Plenty of them. Us children used to go up there and dig around and see what we could find that the Indians had there. But of course, when they took the United States, they killed all the Indians.
Did you find any arrowheads or spearheads when you went up there?
They said that they said some of the boys found them, but they threw them away. They didn't keep them. They may have kept them enough to bring back. That was way up in the middle of the island. That was way up where all them tall hills and trees and a long walk.
More towards the north end of the island.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. North end of the island is right. That's where that most of the people settled. Was up to the north first. Then the Coast Guard went up. Yeah.
What do you remember about Lover's Lane?
Lover's Lane? I don't know about Lover's Lane. I better not tell you all about Lover's Lane.
I want you to tell me about Lover's Lane.
You may not want to hear what I'd have to tell you.
I would love to hear what you got.
Really, to tell you the truth, the Coast Guard, they had a girlfriend or two up on the island. And when they struck the clock, when they go strike the clock, they'd come and get the girlfriend to walk down there to stand by the clock till it was time for the other man to come, and they go back. But other than that, I don't remember I don't. The girls, some of the girls that had boyfriends, of a Sunday afternoon, used to walk over near the edge of the beach, up on the big hills, and sit up on the big hills. That's about the only loving that I know they did. That's
when you
of course they were lovers for a long time, doing things like that, going up down to the hills and sitting on the edge of the beach and watching and talking and all. That's what they did.
When you said that the Coast Guardsmen used to go strike the clock, tell me about what you mean about striking the clock.
Well, it was a thing that they had on the beach, and it had a clock on it. And when now, same as you were in the Coast Guard and she's in the Coast Guard. Well, tonight's her night. She'd walk up there and strike that clock, and then when she struck that clock, she had to stay there a certain length of time. And then when your hour or whatever time that they give you, you go back, and the other fellow would come, and he'd strike the clock. Well, call strike the clock. They put the key in and do something. Then they go back, and that's the way they done that. Yeah. No, well, they didn't do it in daytime. It was at night. It was. It was for to. I think it was for. Wasn't it for to notify if they saw ships or anything, anybody coming in or on the ocean? Because see, back there in them days, when the war was going on, a lot of the Germans and the Japanese and all them tried to get back in the United States. And they had to be watchmen. They called them watchmen, but they called it striking the clock. That's what they would do, but they were watchmen. And one would come for a certain amount of hours, then he'd go back, then somebody else come. But
it proved that they got there and walked the beat.
Yeah, yeah, that was proof. Yeah, because my sister went with one boy that did it.
Getting back to the Indians on the island, that was up to the north end of the island?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was it on the bay side or the ocean side of the island?
Well, to tell you the truth, here's the ocean here, and here's the bay here. This is all hills and trees. It was right in the middle there. Right in there. It was a big stone place of shells, and right where the pear tree was, and the big bush, and shells all over the place there. And those Indian heads, they called them, things, Yeah, the boys used to get them. And
how far was that from where you lived at?
Quite a ways. Yeah. Quite a ways.
Were you living
at least 2 miles?
Were you living on the island when the 1933 storm struck? The big storm?
Yeah, my family was, my mother and father and all my aunts and uncles and all the people that were there. Yeah. No, I was married and living at Sheridan when that struck. My husband and my sister-in-law's husband and their half brother was in their boat, had been out all that week down. You know where the bridge tunnel is? Well, as you get on going the bridge tunnel, you know where the bushes and things are there as you're going along. Well, in them bushes, that's where my husband, he was the captain, and my sister-in-law and his brother-in-law were there in there. I mean, they saw the storm coming, and they were down there clamming, and they had a boatload of clams, and they come in there, right there as you're going over. When the road turns this way, it's out there on where the bush barn is, They went in there and tied up, and they knew it was a terrible storm. And my sister-in-law, and I was with my sister-in-law, and living with her, staying there with her for that weekend. And this terrible storm hit, and it was 2 nice bungalows, or little. They were shaped like a bungalow, where that people lived on them down there on the water. And one old man was always left down there. Mr. West and his crew was at home, and the other was the other man and his sons were home, and they left this old man, one of the men's father, and they tried to get him to come home. They didn't know it was going to be no storm or nothing like that, and he always stayed. He wanted to stay right down there, which it was his in the beginning when he was just a boy growing up, and he stayed down there. And when that storm hit, we thought that they were all drowned. They Coast Guard boats and all went to search for them, and they found boats with the sides of boards and all, and we thought they were drowned. And I hadn't been married too long then, and but come to find out, that old man, that storm tore the house all. It tore it to flitter. It didn't wash it away, but it tore things up in it. He, a poor old man, took a rope and went out and climbed up a telephone pole and fastened himself to that telephone pole. And that's where they found him. But he was beat to death, from the wind and the rain. And he was old, too.
Do you remember his name?
Well, I didn't know him myself too well, but he didn't live too far from where my sister-in-law lived. West, Mr. West, West, Mr. West. And that was a sad time. And then that next day, the Coast Guard boat and all of them were out hunting for Jim's boat. They thought he was gone too. And here he come in, him, Albert, and Grover. Here they come in with a load of clams. It was a miracle. A miracle is what it was. When I looked out and seen that and them coming home, I thought, how can it be? Then they told where they were at. They were there, but the bridge tunnels. You go through that where all that, as you're going. You there. You go ahead through where it's weeds and saltwater bushes and all that.
That's all.
Is that it? I didn't know what it was called. I've heard them do it, but I didn't know. They had gone in there in that boat, and it was just the boat was just an ordinary boat that he had. It wasn't nothing like these boats that they go out here and conk in. No.
Growing up.
And there was Elizabeth with two a little boy and a little girl. I didn't have none. I hadn't been married, but about a year like that. It was a mess, all right.
Growing up on the island, you ever remember your parents or as a child hearing about ghost stories?
Oh, yes, yeah. But I don't know nothing about them. No, I don't remember them. But I've heard them. They played a lot of cards. My mother and father and her sister and their husband and all, they used to come over to each other's house every once or twice a week and play setback. But I don't remember telling ghost stories.
What is the scaredest that you ever were when you lived on Hog Island?
The scaredest that I ever was on Hog Island. I can't remember because I don't remember ever being scared.
Good answer. What was the most memorable thing that ever happened to you when you were on the island that you remembered in all your 80-some years? What is the outstanding thing that you remember?
To think about it. It was going up the tower and looking out and seeing all that scenery of how I know it was and how it looks up there. You wouldn't believe it unless you went up there and just seen it yourself. You couldn't believe it.
Like being in an airplane.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been in airplanes too. I don't like airplanes. I used to fly to Florida. I've been to Florida 3 times in airplane, but I don't like to go. I don't like airplane. I'm scared of airplane, but ain't nothing to be scared of anymore. It is anything else. But I'm scared of airplane. uh, no, because to tell you the truth, at that time, way back there, from far as I can remember, uh, the neighbors were, when I got big enough to realize about anything real, uh, they, the, uh, this neighbor here lived here, this neighbor lived here, and one lived down here. Well, after supper every night, they would always go and sit on one of the other's porch, and they sit there until about 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and then they would go home. But this, all my children and their children, we played out in the middle, right, of the three houses, and they sit out on that porch, and they sit there. Act, they'd have supper at home, clean up their dishes, and they could walk. Well, weren't no cars, no way, but it wasn't very far to walk, like far as from here to the post office. And every night, near about every night through the week, they would, maybe this family would come to this family would go to this family, and then they, like that. Then sometime all the three families were all on one porch because the kids were all out playing. You know, they were big enough to play and play. They played ball. The boys played ball, not like they would bat it like that. They would throw it at one another like that. And the girls, we'd sit down and talk, play like that, like something. Then, but sure as 9 o'clock come, get ready. Don't forget this. Uh, you'll have to talk. Uh, when the when 9 o'clock come, that little bell rang, and we knew when that rang, we had to go. If we didn't go, then we got a paddling. That's what I say. That's the difference in children and parents today. Children can go behind their mother in a store, and the mother's over here picking up her groceries, and the children are knocking things down and tearing up things, and they don't even notice it. They don't notice it. You know what I mean? Oh yes. Well, yeah. Well, the mothers, they didn't do things then. Four boys and three girls of us. We made big playhouses. Of course, it was right amongst in. It was right in the sight of the parents, and we played in them houses, and we never thought about nothing like to think of today. It's terrible the way they do today. And the women, and I must say that the women are worse than the men. And our mothers would teach, our mothers taught us how to carry ourselves and keep our dresses down and not have dirty talk. Well, at that time, no. You get married and you use your own judgment after you got married, and that's the way that went. But now they don't know now. If they knew now, like they did back there when I was a child coming up and all, they wouldn't do the things that they do. Uh huh. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. My grandmother told me. My mother didn't. But my grandmother's one told me, yeah. And because she told my grandmother, she said, of course, my grandmother was her mother. She says, you tell her to get her panties together. I can't find none of her panties. I hate that. Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's one thing. I guess some mothers did, but my mother didn't, but my grandmother did. Yeah. But I wonder now sometime about the little girls if their parents tell them. Yes, 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 yeah, they learn in school. That's right. Huh? No, I learned before I went to school. Oh, well, my granddaddy said if I would wanted to go, he'd take me up there in Maryland and grandma and let me go to school up there. But Mama wouldn't let. She wouldn't. She said no. She wanted me there where she was at. Oh, well, yeah. I did a lot of things, different things. Let's see. It's getting late. This lady here goes home at 8 o'clock. Yeah, so I have to cut it short. Oh well, during the day, I used to take a pitcher or fill a bottle full of fresh water from my grandmother's to drink up to my mother's because the pump water wasn't very good. They had dried the pump deeper and put more. It had iron in it, you know. But everybody set a barrel and caught water for to wash their clothes with, wash their dishes and all, take a bath in it and all. We drank the well, there was some people's water was drinkable, and they get it from different ones that had a good water. Everybody was uh, uh they weren't tight stingy. Nobody was, because everybody fired Jim back the same way. Oh, for to drink. Oh, I used to carry. My father used to take it. Now down there where I lived then, this was after I was grown and married. No, after I was down there where I had good water down there. Had all the water you wanted, good water. Drive a pump. They, they drove a pump. Dri huh? Yeah, you've had drive your well, you drove your pump right down beside your house, and you had a thing there, to put it on and fill your bucket and carry it in the house. That's the way most of them did. But a lot of them had to use barrels to catch rainwater because they didn't. Their water was so rusty and all they couldn't use it like nothing. Yeah, some of them had good water. Water. Got to go now. I think I told you about all I know.